Hi, everyone. I'm Abby,
I'm Jason.
and we're both on the cloud migrations team here at Atlassian, and we're going to talk to you today about cloud transformations.
Thanks, Abby. So while we might expect or like a migration to look something like this, get all the data in one transaction, the reality is there's a lot going on. And so even when you do figure out your direction and scope, there's still a lot of logistical, technical complexities to overcome. Moving's hard. Think to those times when you moved your house, moved those desks at the office, getting here to Team 23. Sure, there's a lot of time, effort, drama. But once we get there, we all appreciate how well worth the journey was. And so I want you to remind yourselves that a migration. Why do we do it? Why do we move to cloud? And the answer is that we're always doing it to move ourselves into a better future. Or as we're going to discuss today, how do we transform ourselves into a better future? So today we're going to go through building a blueprint. A blueprint helps you describe where you've come from and where you're going to in the future with Atlassian Cloud. Most importantly, it's going to help you find your narrative for why and how to make the move. And so to get started, I'm going to hand back to Abby.
Cool. Okay, so what is a blueprint? So before getting into the nitty-gritty of your migration details, like how will you actually migrate your data from on-prem to cloud, we recommend that you take a step back to think more strategically about your migration. And this is really what a blueprint is, right? It helps you align your business goals and your ways of working to your tools and helps you get the most out of your migration to cloud so that you can make it a true transformation. So I'm going to use an analogy here to explain what we mean. So think about building a new home. You probably wouldn't jump into building a new home without taking the time up front to make a plan. The first is determining your requirements. So thinking about what your ideal home looks like, right? Maximizing your enjoyment in the space. So my partner and I treat our dog like our child. So we would probably maximize our outdoor space and build in some dog beds, things like that, right? The next step would be designing your actual floor plan or your layout. So, once you have those requirements in mind, what is that actual floor plan going to look like? Or in the case of cloud, what will your tenant map look like? How many instances will you have? How many products will you have? What will that setup look like? And then the last step would be your project timeline. So it's sort of a rough idea of how long is this going to take. And then of course, we have the construction details, right? So if you're building a new home, this would be, how do I actually construct this new home? But if you're completing a migration to cloud, it would be, how do I actually move that data from one place to another? So we've boiled these steps down into 3 steps for building a cloud blueprint. So the first is that, portfolio design, thinking about your requirements, building your floor plan or your layout, then thinking about your rate of change, and then lastly, your migration method. So we're going to dive into each one of these, and Jason will start us off with the first.
Thanks, Abby. So portfolio design. This is a really important part to get right because it's so inextricably linked to your business strategy and your future way of working. So no pressure. So this is where we consider whether our strategy is to transpose or to transform to cloud. So transpose is your sort of go-to migration in the traditional sense, right? Like the aim is to replicate. And this isn't a bad option if you're already optimized or you don't have a need for change. But of course, we're always looking for ways we can improve, right? And so this is where it's useful to consider how we might transform to cloud. We might rethink our architecture, change our ways of working. And it ultimately comes down to whether you have a vector for change. So let me give you some examples. In this example, we've got a company that's made a few acquisitions in different geographies, and they really want to realize their synergies by bringing everyone into the same cloud site for better collaboration, better standardization. It could go completely the other way around. It could be the same company, different time and place, different company. But in this situation, we've got a company that is globalized, but they need to get more competitive in their local markets. And so they're going to take on what we call federated mapping here, where they're going to give each of their geographies more autonomy by giving them their own cloud site. Yet another example, we've got 2 product teams here who used to share the same server at the top there, used to fight over who's super admin. Someone would change a setting and it affect the other team. So when we go to cloud, let's give them their own space, different products, different markets. At the bottom, we've got a functional business unit who are very particular about their privacy settings. So they have no need for, don't want change. So it's okay for that to transpose to cloud. potentially a different time and place. But these examples go to show it's really about anticipating your future way of working and driving for that. And that's where transformation is super powerful, because it gives you that ability to respond to that change and optimize your way of working. And in many keynotes, you've seen a lot of differences between server and cloud. One I want to bring up that is relevant for portfolio design is multi-site. And so what happens is on-prem, you tend to get these architectures that have fewer instances in the blueprint. And it's because of the way licensing hardware costs are, right? You just tend to get more bang for buck if everyone can share the same thing, right? But we do also have a lot of on-prem customers with multi-site, transformational blueprints, and it shows that there's a lot of value to be had over and above these additional licensing and hardware maintenance costs. And this is where cloud is a game changer, right? Because you can easily spin up as many cloud sites as you want at no marginal cost if you're using our Enterprise Cloud Edition. What that means is you only pay once per user, no matter how many sites you deploy. And this gives you many, many degrees of freedom when it comes to designing and implementing the architecture that's going to work best for you going into the future. So that's some theory. I want to share with you a customer example. This is Greg from Splunk and his transformation story. And what he sort of started with was this situation where his server looks something like Jenga. There's a lot of references you can take from that, but it didn't make sense for him to just lift and shift that, right? Transpose it into cloud. And so what he's found is success with rolling out sites based on the type of team. So he's got a cloud site for a services team optimized for their way of working, another cloud site for DevOps teams optimized for their ways of working. He's saying it's giving him a much better experience, and it can optimize the spend he makes on third-party apps because they use different apps. But his transformation story wasn't this linear. And so I just wanted to share this quote. Thanks to Greg for letting us share this with you all. I wish we'd spent more time fleshing out the tenant map. Our agreement with Atlassian locked us into a 2-year contract that effectively canonizes server methodology inside a cloud. So the bottom paragraph is where he started really there, right? It's with a transpose. As you can see, he didn't want to transpose that Jenga. And so this is what we're doing with you today here, which is build a cloud blueprint, which will help you flesh out that tenant map and get your architecture right. So again, that's portfolio design. Think about your future way of working when doing this part of the exercise. I'm going to hand back to Abby, who's going to take us through the next step.
Yeah, so step 2 is rate of change. And so unlike that first step where we strongly recommend that you consider a transformation, this one is really up to you and what works best for your organization. And when it comes down to it, you'll really have 2 choices. Do you want to go rapidly or gradually? And here's exactly what we mean by that. So keep in mind that these really apply if you have multiple products or multiple instances. Of course, if you just have one product, one instance, your migration will inherently be rapid. But the basic idea is that a rapid transformation will take place in a shorter amount of time, over a couple of weeks, a couple of months at most. You're trying to squeeze that data migration into as short a time frame as possible. A gradual migration will probably take place over the course of a couple of months, maybe even a couple of years. And we see customers choose this approach for a number of reasons. Maybe you want to, manage risk with the change management process. You might need more time to make that full transformation. You might also have some teams that are ready to move to cloud today, but others that aren't quite ready. And so you can, start by moving those teams that are ready for cloud. And if you do choose to take this gradual approach, we have application tunnels that actually allow you to securely connect your server or data center products to your cloud ones while you make the move. So, while you're making that gradual transition, you can still have those products connected. And then the last thing to consider in this rate of change step is, are there any areas where you can start fresh? Do you need to move all of your data from on-prem to cloud? Or are there some teams who can just start a new instance of cloud? This is really something that can help you accelerate your cloud adoption as well. All right, so Jason's going to talk to us about step 3.
Thanks, Abby. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of how we move that data. And so fortunately, we've been hard at work building a suite of applications, cloud migration assistants that help you move Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, also third-party apps with our app migration platform. Really, we want to give you the ability to move your entire data across your portfolio to cloud. Really, we want to make sure that you can execute any of these transitions you're going to build on your blueprint. And so I wanted to share with you some progress we've been making here. So the first is improving the experience, right? Making it easier, more predictable. We've been investing in better platform stability, features that prevent or avert migration failure. And as of compared to a year ago, when you hit that run button, we've seen increases of about 30% in success rates. We're also bringing you 10 times extra speed. More speed means you spend less time on the migration process. Further to that, smarter ways to move all these large quantities of data. And this is predominantly done by pre-migrating as much data as you can. And this can lead to over 80% additional reduction in the downtime and the interruption you cause from. Also, we've just put into consideration some public migration APIs. We know customers want to do things with bespoke apps, systems, scripts. Please check out Ed's talk from Netflix. He does a great job of this, building some things around the Jira Cloud Migration Assistant. Also, solution partners, marketplace partners can deliver some services or features that can ease your migration. But there's a lot of other features I won't have time to go through, so please come over to the Move to Cloud booth if you want to hear more. Also, I'd love to hear if there's anything you think you'd like to see us put on the roadmap. So reimagining your architecture can feel a bit daunting. To help with that, we've put together this resource. Now, it's an interactive whiteboarding session on Miro. If you grab that link, you can create your own board with your own privacy settings. If you can't use Miro, or you can still go to it, export a PDF, or just grab a whiteboard marker and run with it. Now, it's best run as a series of workshops, maybe 1 or 2 hours each, and you want to really iterate your way through as you explore the opportunities, find people, find answers, find data, and refine your design. So I want to give you a brief demo of how it works. So first step, portfolio design. What we want to do here is to draw your dream architecture in cloud. Start with the future state. Don't bring all these constraints with you. How are you going to best work in the future? You can grab some icons there, lay out your footprint, the different products, different sites you're going to have. The second part, simply come back and take stock of what you've got on your servers. So lay out the instances there. Again, grab the icons to show your sources. Third part here is to bring them all onto the same board. As you can see here, we're starting to build a picture of a to and from state. Step 4 is to note down your apps and integrations. We've got some app assessment features in the Jira Confluence Cloud Migration System that'll help you make those decisions. Sometimes it can be a bit early, hard to say, and so it's okay to come back and iterate on this part. Now, what we want to do now is start thinking about the transitions, how those data is going to move from server to cloud. So start drawing those. And as Abby took us through, also the rate of change. There's some color coding there to show rapid, gradual, start fresh. So you can see I've arrived at a tenant map now, which shows our server to cloud architecture, the transitions, and the rate of change at which that data will move. From there, we can take that blueprint and put down our project plan. Now, it might seem a bit early to do it in your first pass, but I recommend doing it. It just advances your thinking. Again, iterative process, don't get all waterfall on me. Go through this a few times, but there you have it. That's how you build a cloud blueprint. Hopefully you'll get to a well-considered, well-researched strategy to help you unlock some transformational value in your way to cloud. With that, I'm going to hand back to Abby.
Yeah, so you might be wondering, given the many things you have to do as part of a cloud transformation, why we recommend doing this cloud blueprint. And so there are a few reasons. The first is that it helps you sort of find a place to start in your transformation. And it helps you build a foundation and a framework that you can use for the rest of your transformation as well. This is really a framework that you can continue to come back to throughout your migration as you start thinking about your actual data migration and your app migration and things like that. The second reason is that it can help you avoid challenges along the way. So if you take the time up front to really think strategically about your migration, this will help you avoid challenges and roadblocks as you progress through it. And then the third reason is that it really helps you maximize your ROI. This is maybe the most important reason, right? Like a cloud transformation isn't necessarily an easy thing to do, and you want to make sure you're getting the most out of this move. And so by taking the time to think about your business goals and your ways of working and how you want to really, set yourself up for success in cloud, you can make sure that you maximize the return on your investment for this cloud transformation project. So that's all we have today. In terms of next steps, we recommend a couple of talks here that some may have already happened, some are still upcoming, that will dive into the migration process a bit more. And then if you want to try out that Miro board that Jason was talking about, the link is down here. And then if you want to talk about this more, come and chat with us at the cloud migration booth. And if you have a solution partner, feel free to bring them along as well. Thank you.